Oh, the heritage of the sport.
Yeah.
You know, skateboarding. People know Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
I've never really skated. Lots of people who've never skated
Yeah.
know Tony Hawk.
Everybody knows that name. I mean, same way. I don't skateboard. I know Tony Hawk.
And yet, in our sport, we've got such a deep and rich heritage, and we've kind of lost the connection with that past, and the signal is very weak.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what's so special about Team Syndicate is between you and your brother at points,
Yeah.
and Wade, the next generation,
Yeah.
and then myself and Will and Dave, the next generation, and now Rob Hazelwood,
Yeah.
Jamie Bull, Allie Nicholson,
Yes.
Zane Nicholson, the next generation. We got 4 generations. It's like a living, breathing history
Yes.
of the sport, and I feel like that's so important.
Yeah.
And if no other reason, if we're failing all the time, to me that's still valuable. That's still inherently enough for us to all be together trying to solve problems, because it's a living, breathing history of a sport that's forgotten its history, if you will.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back, or welcome to the Water Ski Podcast. My name is Matteo Luzzeri, and for this episode 49, I have a mix between an announcement and a call to action. And the occasion for this episode is the publication of what I call the Water Ski Transcripts, the Water Ski Podcast Transcripts. So, to give you a bit of background, during lockdown, early this year, I was at home like millions of other people, and I was trying to figure out how I could grow the sport more through the podcast. And one of the things that occurred to me was, as Bob Lapointe and Marcus Brown were discussing in the intro bit of this episode, that we did a very poor job at recording in written form, but even in video form, the history of our sport as compared to sports like, say, surfing or skateboarding. So, and then it occurred to me that a lot of my guests shared a lot of that story, a lot of that history of the sport. And mind you, water skiing has been around for a long time. So there is history to be showcased and to transmit to the next generation. So I decided to transcribe as many of the interviews that I've done. And of course, one of the straightforward advantages is that the hearing impaired population can benefit from knowledge, from reading about the histories and the stories from their favorite athletes. But the other advantage is text citations are much easier to defend. And what I mean by that is there is one way in which all of us can help to have a recording, a tangible written form of history, and that's Wikipedia. Probably, in my estimation, the most astounding social and educational project ever done on the internet. And nowadays on Wikipedia, if you want to write something, you have to cite your sources. And it's much easier to cite a written source than an audio or video source. And that's why the transcript happened. I didn't do this by myself by any means. I actually did a fraction of the work. The people that have contributed a lot basically responded to a little call of action that I did earlier this year when I said, hey, look, I need some help with a Water Ski Podcast related project. If you want to help, just reach out. These people, who I really want to thank for the time they dedicated towards this, are in no particular order: Andrew Hopkins, Bill Thompson, Camilo Sainz, Dan Green, Daniel Robinson, Elizabeth Montavon, Freddie Winter, Helene Hogg, Kevin Roundhill, Langley Korepanov, Matteo Yanni, Sam Horn, and Sasha Danieskaya. I really thank you guys for the help that you put into transcribing these interviews that now are citable text. And these interviews can be found on thewaterskipodcast.com/transcripts. Now, I hope in the near future to post more of these transcripts so that people can start contributing on Wikipedia and other ways to leave a tangible, written, documentable version of the history of the sport. Even more so, this podcast is a call to action. In my opinion, there's, as we said before with several guests, there's something that anyone who's passionate about water skiing can do to help promote and grow the sport. And I got to realize that a simple Wikipedia search can do wonders, can show who, let's say, Andy Maple was, or who Regina Jaquez is, who won the first Masters, when did the world start, who invented water skiing, and on and on and on. If this movement starts, we are going to have a educational version of the history of the sport. If you're interested in any ways to contribute to this, I would be happy to share the little knowledge that I've acquired through even just trying to do this. So feel free to shoot me an email, Matteo@thewaterskipodcast.com. And if you want to help with the transcripts, if you want to learn how to do a Wikipedia page, like anything that, if you have this desire to help transcribing the history of the sport, transcribing these interviews, contributing on Wikipedia, whatever it is that you feel you want to do to help, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll do my best to try and help you direct your passion like I try to direct mine every day. Thank you so much and see you for episode 50. Thank you.